Last week I was pretty hard on Germany because of their censorship rules, and while I still agree with myself from last week that Germany is way too strict when it comes to violence, credit where credit is due, they are, and have been for decades, very much not strict when it comes to nudity. And this led to a pretty healthy sexploitation scene in the 1970s. And some of the movies, like this one, were even released internationally. This one, by the way, when it was released in the States, was called Campus Swingers, I suppose to make it sound less underagey. But if you watch the German original, you'll quickly realize that the campus they're talking about is a high school campus. Welcome to Exploitation Reviews, and me, Rob, and today I'm taking a look at Schoolgirl Report Part 4. This is probably the most famous one of the series, and there are many in the series, because this one features two of Europe's best-known sexploitation stars of the 1970s, Sweden's Christina Lindberg and Germany's Ingrid Steeger. Let's see what they got up to as schoolgirls. We open on a man telling us that many people watched parts 1 through 3, so they had to make part 4. Schoolgirl Report Part 4, What Causes Parents to Despair? This is an anthology-type movie with many shorter, sexy segments put together to explore some of the sexual practices of teenagers, at least in Germany. There's no framing story here other than the narrator and no overall plot. So let's take a brief look at the different stories of teens getting out of their briefs. Our first girl is studying for her final exams, and she's bad at math.
Math class is tough.
Her teacher, who has wandering eyes, tells her that her math skills are so poor he wouldn't trust her to run a proper business, not even a sausage stand. But we'll see soon enough that she's actually pretty good at making sausages stand. She has a meeting with the teacher and explains it's important that she passes. You can probably guess where this is going. But our teacher is a stand-up guy for a day. The next day he gives Elfie the answers to the test. Naturally, with a perky emphasis on natural, that's nothing you can see here on YouTube.
Man, I just work here.
But of course, we don't have to stay here. You can now support the channel on Patreon and get access to spicy versions of my reviews. Link is in the description. And so Elfie passes her exam. The teacher wants to continue the arrangement, but she explains that there is no arrangement. Their deal is finished, and she walks off with her boyfriend. A narrator then tells us that stories like this show up in the newspaper all the time.
Oh, sure.
Now we're with Angelica. She tells her boyfriend a story about a school doctor. Ooh, fancy. A story within a story. Are we watching Hamlet? This doctor shows up at a girl's house when her parents aren't home and tells her he's there for her school physical. And she believes him.
What an idiot.
All of this is super creepy and gross, but it does end up being pretty funny.
Herr Doktor, ist das Ihr Thermometer?
Yeah. You've got a weird sense of humor.
And the story that Angelica has just told has given her boyfriend an idea. He'll pretend to be a doctor to visit her at home, and it works pretty well, until Angelica's father needs some medical attention. And that ends up being pretty funny too.
Was können wir da bloß machen, Herr Doktor?
Wissen Sie was? Da gibt's nur eins.
Ja?
Lassen Sie einen Arzt kommen.
Ja, natürlich, Herr Doktor. Das ist die Idee. Auf Wiedersehen, Herr Doktor. Otto.
And now we're with Caroline, and the narrator makes a point to tell us that she's adopted. I do find this game they're playing interesting. I don't even know what you'd call it. Field basketball? Anyway, Caroline has problems because her schoolmates are racist in different ways. The girls don't like her, and the boys see her as an exotic sex object. But she does have a boyfriend, the only nice person she's managed to meet so far, Hans. But whatever about Hans, something very important is about to happen. A shower scene.
That's what I want.
In the shower, one of the girls invites Caroline to a party, and the other girls aren't too happy about this. At the party later, things get pretty nasty. The girls strip her and hold her down, and then the boys come out. This whole episode has been pretty gross and weird, and now it's become downright nasty, so let's move on. And also, it's taking me way too long to go through what these stories are about, so I'm going to speed up. My wife never minds that, and you shouldn't either. The next story is about some high school students who want some money, so the girls agree to sell themselves. Even the big girl joins in, despite the fact the boys told her nobody will be interested in buying what she's selling. And then there's a story about some girls hanging out at the local swimming hole. They tease a boy, he calms down in the cold water. They tease him again, he calms down, and so on and so forth. Unlike every other sequence in the movie so far, this one has no gross stuff. It's just light, sexy fun all the way through. And then, about an hour into the movie, we get why many people were probably interested in this movie at all. The stunningly beautiful Christina Lindberg. Her story, which is told with a touch of surrealism, is a tale of brotherly love, in that she loves her brother's, tail. And then our final story is about two ladies who lost their V-cards to the same guy. And speaking of stunningly beautiful, one of these ladies is Ingrid Steeger, and if any sexploitation star from the 70s can compete with Christina Lindberg, it's her. Whew, she was something else. I mean, her haircut here isn't doing her any favors, but when she gets out of her dress later, I guarantee you won't care. And that's enough out of me as far as all these different plots are concerned. Let's talk some highlights. Well, the cast here is pretty great. Everyone is gorgeous. And there are so many everyones. I lost count of how many people get naked in this thing. Maybe 20?
Is that a lot?
It's plenty.
So if all you're looking for is some very nice looking people from the 1970s, look no further. Plus, Christina Lindberg and Ingrid Steeger in one movie, yeah, this thing is well known for a reason. Well known is maybe exaggerating. People like us know about it though. Anyway, aside from all the nice nakedness, there's also some pretty funny stuff here too. Some of them are funny in kind of a sick way, like the first half of the Doctor episode, but others are just legitimately funny, like the second half of the Doctor episode. And that teasing episode was also light and fun. But despite all the beautiful people being occasionally pretty funny, the film is not perfect. Like a gal losing her V-card just because she doesn't want to carry it around anymore, this film has some shortcomings. Well, tonally, this thing is a mess. There's some sexy stuff in here and some funny stuff in here, and all of that is great, but there's also some really sick, disturbing stuff in here as well. I mean, that old doctor is pretty gross, as is the siblings stuff with Christina Lindberg. I mean, I guess that part was pretty ahead of its time, just going by the titles of every porn video these days. But that's aside the point, it's still pretty gross. And those parts are not the grossest parts of this movie. That has to go to the episode with the black girl. It starts off with all kinds of nasty racist attacks, and then it ends with a whole gang of people ready to drink grape soda. And I get that they were going for shocks, and I like plenty of shocking, shocksploitation kind of stuff, so I don't have a problem with it on those grounds.
You sick son of a bitch.
It's just the tonal whiplash of going from light and sexy to that is a bit hard to take. But maybe that's just me. I like a more consistent tone. I don't even like boxes of chocolates because they all taste different. And I especially wouldn't like a box of chocolates if somebody had replaced one of the fillings with vomit or something really gross like marzipan.